All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, February 12th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, this is the big game post-show edition of the BO Boys, and we had to bring in the biggest gamist analyst there is in the business. Listen, I'm a little punch drunk because that big game was wild, and it came down to the wire. But here he is, the man who's going to break it all down for us. We have got Brett from The New Flesh is here. Welcome to the BO Boys.
Hello. It is an honor to be here, as always.
So this is our big game post show. So we are going to break down the trailers. And of course, we're going to give the results that everyone wanted tonight, which is the top 10 movies of the weekend and what came in number one. So, Clayton, could you give us a big game plow for the weekend of Friday, February 11th?
Number one, Argyle made like $6.5 million, down 63%. It is at $28.8 million in its second weekend of release. Number two, newbie Lisa Frankenstein made $3.8 million in its first weekend. Number three, The Beekeeper made $3.4 million, down 34%. It lost 220 theaters. It's at $54.7 million in its fifth weekend. Number four, The Chosen, season 4, episodes 1 to 3 made $3.1 million, down 47%. It lost 329 theaters. It's at $12.5 million in its second weekend of release. Number five, Wonka made $3.1 million, down 33%. It lost 137 theaters. It's at $205.2 million in its ninth weekend. Number six, Migration made $3 million, down 28%. It lost 146 theaters. It's at $110.1 million in its eighth weekend of release. Number seven, Anyone But You, Valentine's Edition, $2.7 million, down 22%. It actually added 186 theaters. It's at $80.1 million in its eighth weekend of release. Number eight, Mean Girls made 1.9, down 50%. It hemorrhaged theaters, losing 457. It's at $69.1 million in its fifth weekend. Number nine, the Dune re-release in IMAX made $1.6 million in 2,000 theaters. It is at $109.9 million in its 121st weekend of release. And rounding out the top 10, American Fiction, $1.3 million, down 45%. It lost 440 theaters. It's at $17.3 million in its ninth weekend of release.
All right. Thank you, Clayton, for that big game plow. So, Brett, I want to go to you on the new release this weekend. So it was Lisa Frankenstein. It was Diablo Cody written. Again, sorry, just punch drunk from the big game.
It's a raw feat.
Yeah, fuck it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. So, Brett, you saw this film.
I am one of the dozens of people in the country that saw Lisa Frankenstein. Yes.
So you saw this for work. When you saw this, because the tracking on this was, we had Scott Mendelson in here a couple of days ago, and he was pegging this around $6 million opening weekend. It definitely came in lower. Having seen the film, do you see why it came in even lower than the low expectations that it had? Like, what happened here? Because this thing really tanks. I mean, Clayton, this thing cried macho.
No, it went lower than macho.
It went even lower. If to only cry macho. Yeah. So what? Yeah, go for it.
Well,
Clayton.
just to give you some reference,
Please.
Freaky made 3.6 in 2020.
And COVID was new and exciting and scary at that time.
Yes, COVID was novel.
Yeah.
Well,
but that movie also had Vince Vaughn. That was Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn. Lisa Frankenstein is Catherine Newton on her own, and I guess she's not money. And Cole Sprouse, but Cole Sprouse is in money, and we all know it.
Cole Sprouse doesn't speak a word in the film.
Wow.
Which I think explains everything about the impact at the box office. I think for every word he spoke, it would have had another $1 million this weekend.
Okay.
So, just a
Wow.
few scenes of dialogue, and we could have been talking about like a pretty big hit.
You make it seem like he's some sort of like essayist or like a monologuist, like Spalding Gray.
Right,
That we'd
right,
expect him to speak so much
right.
in this film. I
Or like a
don't really think of him
Socrates.
as an orator of any high caliber.
Right, right. It's not like Jordan Peterson was playing
Yeah,
the
if it
part
was Jordan
here.
Peterson and then you don't let him talk,
Right,
I
right.
mean, yeah, you're putting millions. You're leaving
In the
millions on the
toilet.
table. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in the toity.
I only know Cole Sprouse. I know people know him as Riverdale guy, or they know him as The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody boy.
Mhm.
I know
Mhm.
him, of course, as Adam Sandler's son in Big Daddy.
Yes, yes.
Right,
Um, that is,
right.
of course, humble beginnings. He played Frankenstein in Big Daddy. There was, of course, two of him. There's Dylan Sprouse, Cole Sprouse. What if they still did that, where they had to swap because of child labor laws, but they just still did it as adults? So this movie actually stars Cole and Dylan Sprouse, and they just
That'd
didn't
be
tell
great.
us.
Getting
That's a good idea.
grandfathered into that. I mean, that's how the
It's
Olsen
in their
twins.
contract. Yeah.
I mean, I think that is definitely something that would make these movies more interesting if you started out as a duo, twins, you
Mhm.
have to continue until one passes. And
Yes.
so different scenes you'd be like, "Oh, that one's Mary Kate. That's definitely Ashley.
Yeah.
That's Cole, that's Dylan."
And then
Who are
think
other
about the
famous
box
the Barbie
office.
twins, the Barbie twins who were famously in a ton of movies that I've
Right.
seen.
And
Yeah.
that then
Scenes from.
it like gamifies the movie, which you'd
Yes.
think would electrify the opening weekend.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
to use a
Mhm.
pun based on the film or anything like that.
No.
But what did you want to know about this movie? Is
Well,
it
well,
bad?
having seen it, do you understand why it
Yeah,
underperformed
I
even
do.
more than
I'm a person who is like should have been like I feel like I'm the target audience. It's set in like '89. It's written by Diablo Cody, who I'm a fan of. I really
Mhm.
enjoy like pretty much everything she's written.
Yeah.
And I'm a horror guy, so this is a horror comedy that she's writing. I know people love Jennifer's Body. It's not my favorite, but I think it's interesting. And so I was like primed for this to be great. I like Catherine Newton. There's no reason I shouldn't have liked this. And I walked away pretty mixed on it. I didn't hate it like a lot of the critics did. I
Uh,
didn't love it like my I didn't love it like my co-host on The New Flesh, Jesse, did, who's primed to like this kind of thing a little more than me, I think. But it's just there's stilted nature to the movie. It's a first-time director in Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter,
mhm.
and it feels like a first-time director. It has a strange rhythm to it, or maybe like a lack of rhythm to it. Scenes kind of go on for too long. There's a lot of dead air. Like the editing kills a lot of the jokes. It just like I saw someone say it died in the edit, and I was like, that's a good way to put it. Like it just like doesn't feel right. Something's off about it. The vibes are just off. I think Catherine Newton is great in it. The costume design's great. The movie has a nice color scheme and visual look, despite being badly directed. Um,
Mhm.
I think the script is funny. If you like Diablo Cody, it's got plenty of Diablo Cody isms in it, and it's an interesting take on a monster movie. I just think something got lost somewhere. It's tonally confused in a way that doesn't really help itself, and it doesn't have like narrative momentum or drive at all. It just kind of feels like scenes are happening and characters are acting in ways that they need to for the scene to work, but it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like they're real people. It just it's stilted is a good way to describe it. So yeah,
Right.
I guess I do think, the quality doesn't matter all the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It just feels like a focus feature released movie. Like, why did it open so low? Like, it isn't there like a horror audience that should have been there for something like this that
Well,
it
I mean,
wasn't there?
you're of course hashtag horror lifestyle. You originated that, and it's swept the country these last few years. Never felt like this movie was being marketed very well to the hashtag horror lifestyle people.
Yeah, and maybe that's because it doesn't super deliver on the horror. Like, I would
Mhm.
say it delivers more on the comedy
Mhm.
angle of the horror stuff for me, and that's because it's like decidedly PG-13, and you can read interviews where the director talks about both the director and Diablo talk about it being an R-rated script and there being an R-rated edit before they made the one that is now PG-13.
Okay.
And then you see how this movie opened so low, and you're like, could it possibly have opened lower as R? Like what, or did they hamstring themselves for no reason? It seems like they did hamstring themselves because there's like a big gag that doesn't really pay off, I would say, because of the rating at the end, and it's strange and it's noticeable.
Where a gag that if there had been gore, if there had been R-rated blood and nudity, the gag could have worked.
Yeah, if they added like the 4 minutes of hardcore sex that I'm assuming was in Anyone But You this weekend, I do think we're looking at a different situation.
I mean, definitely if they had been able to add a Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell sex scene to the end of Lisa Frankenstein, it would have done better business.
The beginning, the middle, the end, anytime, I think.
Yeah,
you
don't randomly.
Oh yeah, I don't think you have to use the 4-minute chunk altogether. You can sprinkle it so that people stay in the theater.
Right. Every time you shock the monster, he gets to see that in his head for a couple of seconds. Yeah, that could have worked. I mean, this movie definitely seemed like it wasn't targeting horror fans and it wasn't targeting adults very much. It did seem like they went down the path of we're going after the tweens and the teens and the young ladies, which is fine. Yeah. But it clearly didn't work in big numbers, and it clearly came up against the buzzsaw that was the Taylor Bowl this weekend. You know, the big game also catered to the tweens and the teens and the young ladies, and I think they just chose that instead of Lisa Frankenstein.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big one. I mean, let's look at demos really quick. Women, 58%. That's pretty obvious. This was female leaning. 69% were 18 to 34. And 35% being 18 to 24. So there was some young people, just not a lot. Diversity, 57% Caucasian, 22% Hispanic and Latino, 7% Black, and 8% Asian. So girls
only white people cared about this.
Yeah.
It turns out.
And I mean, the Hispanic and Latino community go to the movies. It's something they love to do. Obviously, 22% coming out, seeing new movies. So, but the ladies over indexing a little bit here, but also there wasn't enough of them. I mean, the percentages are what the percentages are, but the number of tickets sold was abysmal.
Right. I mean, I think there's also something to the big game this Sunday. You know, in the past, everyone would watch the big game on their basic TV. You know, channel 2, 4, 5, or 7 has the big game, and you use your clicker, and there it is. Nowadays, people am I streaming this on Paramount Plus? Am I watching the Nickelodeon feed? We got reports tonight that SpongeBob SquarePants was announcing the big game on a feed on Nickelodeon. People had to prepare all weekend for just how they were even going to watch this big game, what their logins are, what their passwords are. I honestly don't think the country had enough time to find their logins to the big game and to go see a movie this weekend. I mean, the entire box office was in the toy this weekend. It was a disaster.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, the only was Lisa Frankenstein ostensibly the only new release. Yeah, I mean, Argyle being number one. It's so funny to see
the
movie
June
bomb.
IMAX re-release. I mean, those and I mean, Clayton, you didn't say the words turning red, but Turning Red,
how far down was that?
Dropped into theaters this weekend, and I am scrolling past Zone of Interest. I'm scrolling past The Boys in the Boat. I'm scrolling past Origin. I'm scrolling past The Taste of Things. Trolls Band Together, which is in its 13th week. Guys, I'm scrolling past ISS, the ISIS movie. Where is?
No, you missed it. Yeah,
I did miss it. Okay, I scrolled
right after. It's right
under
Boys in the Boat.
It's right after Boys in the Boat. Okay, so it came in like 7.
It made $535,000 in 1,500 theaters, which is an average of $343. Which is about as much as like comedians make at Union Pool shows or Union Hall shows in New York City.
Let's put this in perspective.
If we had done this episode live in Union Hall in New York City, we would have made more money tonight than Turning Red did this weekend.
Yes, that is true.
Less people
per theater average wise.
Yes.
No, we would have made 5 to 35K. Sorry.
We could have easily.
Less people wanted to see a Pixar movie, Turning Red, than wanted to see Nazis hang out for an hour and a half
Mm-hmm.
and
Trying on
garden and trying on coats and having picnics
Mhm.
and a George Clooney directed film.
Yeah.
Both of those things, people wanted to see those more than a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
That everybody was claiming, well, this was the one. This was the one that if they would have put it out in theaters, then it would have been the big hit, right? Soul re-release, that bombed, right? This was the one. This was the movie that everybody was complaining that it didn't get its fair shake. And again, 1,000 theaters is not a fair shake, but
And years after it's already been out and everyone has seen it, not a fair
Yeah.
shake. It's so ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that this re-release program is only denigrating the brand more because people like us have to report on this. We're
Mhm.
not going to stay mum. We're not going to shut up. You know, we're not going to not talk about the fact that this re-release platform for these Pixar movies has been a disaster. And the last one is going to be Luca. They're going to just
Yeah.
throw Luca in
I
Luca
feel
will
like-
not even make the chart.
I do
Luca
think
will not make the chart.
I don't think it's going to make the theaters. I think they're going to just save themselves the embarrassment and stop it. But like, and maybe they're already booked and they can't. But
paying,
I don't know.
Paying
It's
to
kind of a
deliver
disaster.
the thumb drive to the theater
Yeah.
is not. It's not worth it.
Right.
And Disney makes billions of dollars, and you know they're hemorrhaging cash. So don't spend that money to have that bike messenger bike that thumb drive to the theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save your money, Disney.
Yeah. I mean, guys, Playmobil the movie, December 6, 2019, opening weekend, $656,000. Okay. So the Playmobil the movie opening weekend beat this Turning Red re-release. And yes, of course,
yeah.
like Brett said, people have been watching this movie on Disney Plus for the last 2 years, but still, it is just an embarrassment for the Pixar brand to see numbers this low.
But that
you know,
movie had variable pricing too. So I'm sure that movie, if every ticket for Playmobil was the same amount, then that movie would have made way more.
Yeah.
I want to do a quick aside on Disney destroying their brand further because that's what this
Do it.
conversation is.
It is. It
Did
is.
you hear about the Moana 2 announcement this week?
Let's get into it. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
okay.
we haven't talked about it on air, so
No.
this is huge.
It's
Yeah.
completely crazy that out of nowhere 4 days ago at like, was it an investor call or was it like a keynote? Like it was a keynote thing where Disney was announcing stuff about their company. And one of the things they announced was, oh, by the way, Moana 2 is coming. And it's not just coming like in the future, it's coming in November.
Yeah.
And it's like almost it's done and it's here essentially. Here's a trailer. Here's a little clip of it. And then my first thought was, this makes no sense at all. Disney does not operate that way. We know about movies they're making years in advance before they put them on the calendar or whatever. So my first thought was this must have been a Disney Plus show that they decided needed to be gussied up for theatrical. And then, you know, within a few hours of that happening, there was reporting that suggested that's exactly what happened. And they don't even have The Rock or the girl who plays Moana yet. They're like negotiating for a movie that's out in November. It just sounds so low rent. Like this is the type of movie that when we were children would have been the straight to clamshell VHS tape.
Jafar.
Like Return of Jafar. Which
Return
like
of
not
Jafar.
to which is like, you know, to me that's like a quality film, but it is a straight to video sequel. I haven't seen it since I was a child. I'm sure it's like 63 minutes long.
I'm sure there's someone on Twitter X right now who's saying Return of Jafar is actually the best film of the entire
and there's someone else saying Prince of Thieves is even better, the third one or whatever.
Yes,
the third
of course.
Or
And I hope
Kronk's
they
New
meet-
Groove is actually the best one.
Yes, and I hope all of them meet, and I hope all of them marry in some kind of moon ceremony.
They'll marry at Disney, and it'll pay top dollar to do that.
Yes, God bless
I hope they drink Kool-Aid.
God bless them.
I hope it's tasty and delicious.
Yes.
I lost my train of thought though.
So I mean that Moana is a straight to video.
Doesn't it feel that way?
Yes.
It does feel like they're gussying up like if not a straight to video Disney era sequel, that's like low rent, a Disney Plus show that is no longer a season. It is now a movie because the writing on the wall is they fucked up with their Disney Plus pivot in
Right.
terms of making all their high profile content, putting it on there. And now they're trying to do the opposite and put their TV content in theaters, which like I should be all for, but it's clear that they're like kind of flailing around.
Yeah.
Well, aren't they doing something with aren't they doing something with The Mandalorian or one of those shows making
Oh, yes.
aren't they doing something theatrically with one of those shows as well?
Mandalorian, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is that what it's called? It
I-
is the next Star Wars movie is a offshoot, a spin-off, whatever you want to call it, of their TV series now.
Yeah.
So it's through the looking glass type of shit where I can't believe, I've said this a bajillion times, but you know, the fact that Disney decimated a multi-billion-dollar theatrical brand in Star Wars, and now their solution to doing that and realizing that they fucked up by putting all their eggs in the streaming basket is to turn put the streaming basket in theaters. Like, no, focus on theatrical as its own fucking thing that I don't have to watch your shitty TV show to be
Mhm.
excited for. Like, they found a way to make me I would say a casual Star Wars fan, like someone who would go see every movie opening night but has no interest in watching it on television. Like, I'm not interested in this at all. And
Right.
that's an amazing feat that they did. Like, they
And
fucked up bad.
At least with the Star Wars thing, I mean, it disgusts all of us that they're taking a movie and turning it into taking a TV show and putting that in the movie theater as a Star Wars movie. But at least with that, they're planning that years in advance. They're making that for theatrical. You know, it's not a situation of they're taking a season of The Mandalorian and turning it into a theatrical release, you know, in 3
Right.
months. But with
As
this
far as I
Moana
know,
thing,
though, it could have started that way. But like, it is being treated like a theatrical thing, though. You're right. It's different than the Moana thing, at least as far as we know.
I mean, the Moana thing is, we all get it because they should not be spending $300 million to make a television show. So that never made sense. But there is a solid chance that whatever this Moana thing that they put out in theaters in November is going to be bad, in the sense that it's going to be a TV show, and TV shows are inherently bad.
Yes.
And
A lesser art form, an inferior medium, etc.
yes.
Yeah. It's a way to sell detergent.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is
that's what
great.
TV is. TV is a wraparound for commercials. That is what it was invented for.
It's
So
something
that's
to
what
do
it remains.
It's something to do in between heinous political ads.
Yes. And that's how they created this Moana content, is they meant for there to be heinous political ads every 8 minutes in between these scenes. And now they're just going to cut out those heinous political ads and string
Call it
these
a film,
episodes
yeah.
together. And like you said, The Rock is not signed on to do the voice because this was meant for TV. And I'm sure they had like Richard Kind, you know, signed on. He probably voiced 10 episodes as Maui, you know, because they were going to do it on D+. You get Richard Kind in there. He's happy for the gig. The kids watching on TV won't notice, but now they got to figure out how to get The Rock in there. And he's got to voice episodes that already exist.
And lest we forget, he made a huge stink about his live action Moana remake that's allegedly happening. That is now also happening? Or are they going to just pretend that was never announced and just kind of shovel it away post Black Adam bombing, or whatever you want to say, post The Rock pivoting back to the WWE right now, which is happening.
Which is happening, and it's
interesting.
And it's a disaster.
It's fascinating. Yeah. I'm assuming, are people booing him? Like, what's going on? People
are booing him. You know, hashtag what is it? Hashtag we want Cody. He's pulling some stuff there, like he pulled at DC. That the DC fans weren't happy with his Black Adam.
Hierarchy of the WWE was about to change, and they weren't ready.
Yes, and they were not ready, and the fans didn't want it. So it's a lot of missteps from The Rock, and this Moana series in November. This Moana movie in November.
No, we should call it what it is.
This Moana series. This Moana series strung together for theaters in November is a huge gamble because, listen, it's going to make a ton of money because that's such a big IP. Kids have really come to love that movie since it did come out. You know, it did well in theaters, but since then has been so much bigger than pretty much any Disney property since Frozen. So people
Because
love Moana.
it's the original like Disney bro. It's like Musker and Clements. It's the
Yep.
Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet guys.
Okay.
It's like
And
classic Disney directors.
yeah,
Writers.
and people
Yeah.
love right. It's them. It's those guys who do. Yes, yes. And the songs were huge. And listen, say what you want about the Rocket Meow.
Lin-Manuel Moana.
Lin-Manuel Moana did all the songs. He also has nothing to do, from what we've heard. I'm sure they'll pay him a ton to, you know, crap out a couple of songs in the next, like, over the summer. But he had nothing to do with the series. So it's not like there are, you know, 5 Lin-Manuel Miranda songs that he already made for the show. They've got to get The Rock. They've got to get Lin-Manuel. They've got to get the girl who played Moana. None of this was set, but the movie is coming out in November. I mean, they've tarnished Pixar. They've got a really good shot here at putting out something in November that kills the Moana brand.
Yeah, it's I've never in my lifetime Disney has never been in such dire straits. And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure their bottom line earnings wise is maybe fine and stuff for now, or maybe it isn't. I have no idea. I don't pay too much attention to that. But in terms of like the art of it and like how we used to Pixar movies really used to mean something and like adults would get excited about them, and I don't feel that anymore about them for the most part, if only because the last 3 Pixars they put straight to Disney Plus and they didn't feel like real movies even though they were great. And yeah, I just feel like they've really diminished their brand in ways that I would have never conceived of happening. Like, isn't DreamWorks kind of eating their lunch, or like Illumination's leading their lunch?
Illumination, for
Illumination's eating
sure.
their lunch. Like,
I mean,
yeah.
they were able to make a cartoon about birds be a hit.
Yeah.
Try Disney. If Disney put out Migration,
Yeah.
that thing would have made Strange World money.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have tanked completely.
It's funny how the times have changed in that way. It's crazy. Like, that was inconceivable to me 10 years ago, even.
So let's transition a little bit, because you're talking about Disney and you're talking about how it's damaging its brands. I think this can really go right into these trailers that we saw during the big game that obviously, you know, the National Fraudulent League had their big game this weekend.
Wow.
And so, you know, which is just there to prop up commercials, as we all know, because that's all anybody talks about is these commercials and these trailers. And the one that was, I think, the biggest one was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Title reveal.
Title reveal. Deadpool 3. It is now Deadpool and Wolverine. And, you know, Brett, you came in hot talking about this before we were on mic. What is your thoughts on this Deadpool Wolverine trailer?
Well, I think you should start putting money in stock on number of times they're going to look at the camera, because it already happened in the trailer pretty early. Self-referential Disney jokes are already there. The Marvel self-awareness about the cinematic universe is already in there. It is maybe the most insufferable trailer I've ever seen. It seemed like it's kind of conceived specifically to annoy me, someone who finds Deadpool like just kind of eye roll worthy Spencer Gifts humor, like Chimichanga itself is a punchline type of jokes that I just don't understand. I admittedly never saw the second movie, which I've heard some people say is a lot of fun. I thought the first movie was bad, and most importantly, just I don't know if Deadpool's to blame for this, but I feel like it is one of the first movies I remember just looking like absolute dog shit in terms of like blue screen backgrounds that are just very unconvincing and not even trying to be convincing. And I feel like they look really bad, and it doesn't matter. They make a ton of money. People love it. Ryan Reynolds is the funniest comedian in the same way that Justin Timberlake is the funniest comedian on earth. People love celebrities. Super Bowl commercials today really proved that celebrities are hilarious, I think, also, first of all. But yeah, I just don't really get Deadpool's shtick, and I am a fan of X-Men, and I am a fan of Wolverine in the movies. And this trailer is way more. The Wolverine part is a reveal of the trailer, and it's like 90% Deadpool or 95% Deadpool trailer and 5% Wolverine. So hopefully in the movie the balance is better, but this looks dire to me. It looks very bad.
Yes. Here is the problem with this trailer, and Pat. Then I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just jump in, but
No,
and I think you may agree.
you
with
can
this
finish.
too. Thank you. Look at that. The problem with this is the meta-ness of it, because from this trailer, they are making fun of the multiverse. They're making fun of the MCU, which would be okay if people still liked the MCU. But now people don't like the MCU. So they're making fun of something that the people who are going to go see this movie are the only remaining hardcore fans of it and do not have a sense of humor about it. So this movie is going to dunk on the thing they still are holding tight to and defending. And there's not going to be a general audience that is going to be interested in this shit, because the main people who would go see this movie are your 18 to 34s. And I think they're over Ryan Reynolds. I think they're over this sort of winky action stuff. I mean, we saw with Argyle, which is different because it's not an IP, but still the winky Matthew Vaughn era of action is dead. This is a sort of arm of that. And I think, the jokes weren't funny. It looks dire. Nobody cares if Deadpool meets Thor at this point. Nobody cares that Deadpool meets Wolverine at this point. So I think that this movie is going to bomb.
Oh, that's interesting. Pat, I know
No,
you
go
were just
for
as
it.
shocked
No,
as I
you're
am
hot.
here.
You came in hot. Go for it.
As much as I think it looks horrible, I mean, I don't agree. I think it is going to be the exception to the rule that Marvel is like over. Like this movie, people are excited for because there hasn't been a Deadpool in a while. I think people do like Ryan Reynolds somehow still. I liked him and I feel like I got overkill on him. I do think it's going to be big. And not just like, I think it would have been big as Deadpool 3 anyway, especially in the way it's now tying itself into other universes or whatever. But I don't think the Marvel stink will be on it, because it does feel like it isn't a part of that somehow, because
They're bringing it in.
They are bringing it in. Yeah.
Kevin Feige has his fingies on this thing. He is the
Kevin
king.
Fingies.
He is the King Midas in reverse right now. Do not underestimate his ability to fail, because that is what this is going to do. The sea change, we've seen it this past year. The sea change in the IP that people want to see, the sort of films people want to see. Do not get stuck in the mire of what used to be here. We have to move our heads forward, and this is backwards. Deadpool 3 is a backwards move, and it is not going to succeed because young people do not want it. They don't want the slop that we used to eat. They want the new slop. They want video game slop. That's what they want. They want Five Nights at Freddy's. They don't want Deadpool. Deadpool is lame.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of more with Brett here in that. Here's the thing: if Deadpool 3 bombs, then superhero movies are done in a way that I don't even know if the Batman movie, whatever the next Batman movie, could underperform.
Spider-Man, Batman don't count. They're safe. Joker, Spider-Man, Batman, they don't count.
I would be inclined to agree, but if this Deadpool movie bombs, if this Deadpool movie
everything changes. Yeah.
Everything changes. If this Deadpool movie opens to like $40-50 million opening weekend,
it will.
If that's the case, then Batman isn't safe, Spidey Man isn't safe. And honestly, Joker isn't safe. And I know he's the biggest movie star in the world other than Leo, but no one is safe if this Deadpool movie bombs. I mean, this is a character that people, and we may personally like or not like Ryan Reynolds, but people love this Deadpool character.
The degree to which it's like a passion project for him is very funny too. It's like a thing he's been. Remember the X-Men Origins cameo in 2008 or whatever?
Yep.
Like it's such a seated, long, deep-seated thing.
This is Pacino always wanting to play Richard III. You know, like Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds, if he ever directed a movie, it would be a documentary called Looking for Deadpool, and would
Yeah.
be about him acting on the set of the first Deadpool movie. Like this, you're right. This is his character that he's always wanted to play, and people loved it, and college guys loved it, and women like everyone loved this. So this trailer, though,
He knows he's in the movie.
he knows
Deadpool.
and people love that he knows, but you're right. There is the fine line of he can't ignore the elephant in the room, which is that these superhero movies are bombing. Like Deadpool is going to have to talk box office in
He's
this
got
movie.
some jokes about that for sure in the chamber.
He has to.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't think it's a 0% chance that he doesn't break the fourth wall and talk about the BO boys in this movie. You know,
Oh,
'cause
you guys are
it-
getting name checked for sure.
yeah, yeah, and you would think that helps the box office, but I think people aren't even going to be aware that that was the case if they don't go see this.
I have heard rumors that there is a character that is based on the Ace.
It's based on the
Oh,
Yeah.
That-
I've heard that. So if there's that, then it's very possible we are being parodied in this film.
if there's a character based on the Ace in Deadpool and Wolverine, and this movie still bombs, then these movies have no hope.
it's a death knell for sure. The biggest I don't want to move us on, but I just want to say the biggest surprise of the Super Bowl today for me. I don't know if anyone else was just not expecting it, because I just wasn't. The trailer for Twisters came out today.
Well, I think that is, I mean, if we want to put a pin on Deadpool and Wolverine, I think the Twisters trailer is the big winner. One last thing on Deadpool and Wolverine, though,
Please,
before
I
we
didn't
move
know if
on
you
to
had anything
Twisters.
else.
The reveal of Wolverine seems to be he's in the yellow costume.
Yes.
And I know, Clayton, you're getting sick because we're getting in the weeds of the superhero and all that.
No.
Does that matter? Is that something that
Used to.
matters to
Used to.
anyone?
It-
that we're going to get to see Wolverine in his yellow costume, or even just me saying that.
It matters.
Does that make people sick?
It's about 24 years after it mattered.
It matters to the people who do not want the things they love to be made fun of, right? That is the problem, is that all of the Easter eggs and all this stuff that is going to get shit on this movie, it is now getting shit on by culture, where Deadpool was sort of parodying Marvel and the X-Men at a time when they were so unstoppable that you could throw rocks at them and they wouldn't be injured. Now you throw rocks at the MCU and the whole Ponzi pyramid scheme is going to fall apart. That is the problem here, is that it's, even if it's light poking, that it's still illuminating the fact that this shit is so lame.
Right.
And people are going to stay away from it, you know? And I think that is the main issue here. Absolutely. And I think, you know, yeah, the yellow costume is a thing. And if this movie came out in 2020, it would be massive. But it is 2024.
Right.
The last one came out in 2018. That is 6 years. And that is not 6 years in normal time. That is 6 years in, we went through a fucking pandemic time. So
right.
The sea has changed. The sea has changed.
Well, the week before Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, that movie comes out July 26th. The weekend before, July 19th, Twisters comes out. And that was a big trailer that came out today. I think this is a movie that is going to hit the perfect target of nostalgia and people wanting big movies that aren't superheroes, and it having a star that people are very positive about in
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell.
Yes.
I think Twisters could be huge. I feel like people really did like this trailer and just like the idea that this movie exists more than anything.
I think the just by virtue of the fact that it had a Super Bowl debut like that with 100 million people watching or whatever it is, like Twister as stupid as it sounds, like is the star of the movie is the Twister font to
Mhm.
me. Like it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, yes.
everyone knows Twister. If not, if they haven't seen it, they went to Universal Studios and did the Twister experience.
Mhm.
And it just like is a looms large in pop culture type movie. If you didn't see the movie, you saw the cow flying parody at the MTV Awards or whatever the fuck it is.
Yep.
Like it is a looms large pop culture thing, 90s relic. And so that's the star and its IP in itself that's going to sell it. And then Glenn Powell coming off of, I mean, let's be real. I mean, he's not the reason Maverick did well, but like he's in a $1 billion movie like that. And then he's in Anyone But You, which had an unbelievable, is still having an unbelievable box office run. You have to think that Twisters is going to benefit from Glenn Powell. Twisters is going to benefit from the Twister font being
Yep.
on there. And it's going to benefit from the James Cameron aliens on the chalkboard with the S thing, where there's not
Mhm.
just one Twister now, there's multiple. The trailer, the teaser reveals that there's 2 Twisters, and it's pretty
Yes.
awesome. I gotta
Yes.
say.
When that character says there's 2 of them, it's just all right. This is gonna be
Like
huge.
ticket, if I could buy my ticket now, I would have. If they had a
Yes.
QR code up, I would have done it.
Yep.
And it's Twister is the type of movie that isn't going to suffer from people needing the original star to be back. You know, this isn't an Independence Day resurgence situation where you didn't get Big Willie and so the movie is DOA. You know, whether Helen Hunt cameos in this or not, it doesn't matter. You know, that's
Mhm.
not what people want. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, God rest his soul, we all love him, but him being unavailable for this movie isn't going to affect Twisters. The only thing that matters is, like you said, the font, the Twister, and
I like
just
how you named the lesser. I guess he's a more famous actor, but like in that movie, there's also a lead character who's who's dead, and you said Philip Seymour Hoffman.
that's
Like
right, Bill
Paxton's
Paxton
also
too.
dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Really, every time I like, it's one of those guys you just go like, wow, yeah, he's dead. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because of the Paxton Pullman thing, I think I always forget.
Right. In a way, he lives on because Bill Pullman is
Bill
alive.
Pullman's still doing The Sinner every year or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still being because Bill Pullman is still being called Paxton, so therefore he does live in a lot of
That's
people's
nice.
minds.
That's nice, though. That is nice.
I
And
love Bill
you know,
Paxton. Bill, he was amazing.
One of the great actors. Yeah.
Yeah.
the other star of this, sort of, I guess, the Helen Hunt replacement here is Daisy Edgar Jones. And, you know, she had herself a nice Anyone But You type leggy summer hit a couple of years ago with Where the Crawdads Sing. And, you know, she hasn't
Marsh Girl.
had a hit movie since, but she was the Marsh Girl. I think she's someone that audiences are going to, in a movie like this, where the special effect is the star, but you want to have some actors that people know and like. Her and Glenn Powell are kind of like the perfect duo to replace Helen Hunt and Bill Pullman.
Yeah, you want to see that romance if there's a romance there. Absolutely. Bill Paxton, Pat.
Bill Paxton. So there it is. He lives because of Bill Pullman.
He lives.
Yeah.
But I think this and you're right, Brett, in that just the fact that they did a Super Bowl trailer for this is Universal saying this is a big effing deal.
Awareness,
we believe in this
it's
movie.
out there now. Yeah. I think the awareness went from 0 to 100 today. Like I don't think anyone knew about it except for online people who read a blog last year and said the guy who directed Minari is doing a Twister sequel, and now it's like Twisters is coming out this summer. Bitch, look out! It's out.
Right.
Look at that. I'm excited.
And I think you're going to see, I mean, the reactions online, positive for this and negative for Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that is going to be the consensus here. And then I think Wicked is going to be a shrug for most people, or it's going to get goofed on. But I don't know. I mean, that I'm not the audience for Wicked. I'll just say I'm not the audience for
Me
it.
neither.
So it resonated 0 to me. It does not look good to me as a viewer, but I don't know. I mean, it's a big musical. It's a big Broadway musical. You know,
I learned something from it, though. I don't mean to be crass if this is a topic.
Get
non
out the
grata.
caution tape.
Yeah,
the
get out the
caution
caution
tape
tape.
out.
Get out the caution tape.
Netflix special. Here we go, Brett.
This trailer taught me. Like, I texted my wife who was downstairs not watching the Wicked trailer, and I said, I think they like gave Ariana Grande whiteface in this trailer. Like, what's going on?
Oh wow!
And she had to tell
Wow.
me that she's white and
Oh,
that she just
wow.
like tans a lot or something. So
Oh wow!
it
So
was
she's
a
like one
very
of my cousins
shocking
from Long
reveal.
Island.
She is
Okay.
like one of your cousins from Long Island, apparently. I'm speaking out of turn. I don't really know anything. This is my secondhand knowledge. But in the movie, she looks very white, and it was surprising to me. So like just like Cynthia Eravio, or how you pronounce that, her being green just as surprising as Ariana being white in this trailer for me.
Wow! So everyone is coloring themselves in this movie.
Yeah, everyone decided to go for it. It looks garish, ugly CGI backgrounds, totally fake. I can't believe it's one of those classic nowadays. This cost $200 million and it looks like this type of movie, like the
Right.
fucking any of them. Name any of them. It doesn't look good, and the fact that it's a part one feels like a open threat.
Well, here's the thing on that, though. I mean, unless I missed it, they never say Wicked Part 1 in the trailer. They say
No, you're
Wicked,
right. Which is such a first that they were hiding that things were musicals. Now they're hiding that they're part twos. That they're
I mean, I think this is not in any small part due to the failure of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, as it was called theatrically.
But no longer.
But no longer is called that. But listen, it was in
Respect the
theaters as
rebrand.
Dead Reckoning Part 1. And I think that
Live, die, repeat, bro.
Live, die,
Well,
repeat. They're live, die,
that's
repeating.
live,
Dead
die,
Reckoning.
repeat.
Did you guys talk about Dead
DVOG,
Reckoning
Paramount
losing the
Plus.
part one?
It lost the part 1, but it had the part 1 in theaters when it underperformed. And I think Wicked took a lesson from that. And listen, in the past, you don't call something part 1, you call it the name, and then if there's a sequel, you call it part 2. So if this movie, whether they made part 2 or not, you could call this Wicked, and then you call the next one Wicked Part 2. You don't ever need to put a part 1 ever.
And even from this trailer, people are the reaction from people, from theater people, is like, well, if that's the trailer for part 1, what's going to be in part 2? And I have a friend of a friend who has a source somewhere who's heard rumblings that part 2 is going to have like new songs and be like new additions, not like the movie part 1 will be what you know as Wicked, and then part 2 will be additional newly written bullshit, which like I don't think anybody would want that. So they're setting themselves up for failure rather than the story could have been they made a Wicked movie and it's gonna perhaps perform okay, and now it has to do so well, I feel like, or it's gonna be a disaster, and it might be. It could.
I mean, I think this is one that the trailer looked like what it looked like. I think you're right. The special effects don't look amazing, but there's so much awareness for this brand. You know, this was such a huge show. And I know we had Cats a couple of years ago, one of the biggest musicals ever, and that totally tanked. But Wicked is a show that has done big theater numbers over the last 20 years.
Right.
And there's a lot of awareness. And it's Wizard of Oz. And that Sam Raimi Wizard of Oz with
Franco.
not Dave Franco, with the forgotten Franco now.
James Franco.
I listen. The internet told me to forget him, so I forgot James Franco. But that movie made what, 700 million worldwide? I mean, I feel like that is a shockingly huge box office take for a movie that people don't think about. The Oz Great and Powerful. And
yeah, because it's not a good movie. I love you, Sam Raimi, but that movie is not great shakes.
This is, I mean, I think this movie is going to be huge. I think just getting the trailer out there to just let people know this is coming is all it had to do. It made 490 worldwide. It made
the trailer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it made 234 domestic and 255 foreign. So that Oz Great and Powerful was a huge hit. Whether people remember it or hate it or not,
right?
You know, the Oz brand is gigantic.
Yeah, and Wicked, you know, either you saw it in New York or in any of the cities in the world because it traveled everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I think that trailer definitely didn't blow anyone away. This
Oh,
was not the
no.
White House blowing up in Independence Day. It wasn't one of those trailers that everyone is going nuts over the next day. But I think it did the job of this thing exists. The witch is going to be green.
It had her sing the note, the high note, the famous
Yep.
note that's in all the like TV spots for Wicked with Idina Menzel, I think it was, singing it. They got Cynthia Erivo doing her take on it, and it's a take.
Cynthia, I think it's a Revo.
Erivo, yeah, she's doing a take. She is doing a different take than the original, and it's interesting. But yeah, I have very little interest in that movie.
Will Wicked be #horror lifestyle enough that you'll cover it on the new Flesh when it comes out? It's got a witch.
It's a great question. I
got a
don't know if the
witch.
musical like cancels out the horror part of it. We'll have to confer with the team on that.
If it's got the flying monkeys in it, I kind of think it'll be horror enough.
Yeah,
Because those are pretty scary.
Yes, very, very scary. Even.
Yeah, they're quite scary. Yeah, I think that I feel like we all agree that the winner of the 3 trailers was Twisters. The loser is Deadpool and Wolverine, because even though I don't think it's going to bomb, I do think that trailer is going to get made fun of. I agree with that. It'll get made fun of more than it excites people.
Yeah.
And I think the Wicked trailer just kind of did what it needed to do, which is just bring awareness and a release date.
That Ariana is white. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Deadpool is his shtick. We all know this, and obviously we all know this, but his shtick is making fun of things. And when the person who makes fun of things becomes the thing that is made fun of, all the power is gone. And we will see the reaction after this farce of a game that, I mean, there's going to be a few headlines, and I'm not going to get into it because this is a sports talk radio,
But Taylor Swift did just win the big game.
But the second biggest farce that happened tonight was this Deadpool Wolverine trailer, and it is going to get lambasted and torn to bits. And the last remaining people who are going to stick up for Deadpool are going to hide in shame. And by hide in shame, I mean going on Reddit and scream and yell and cry. But that's hiding in shame.
Do you think, Clayton, that on the sports talk radio tomorrow that the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer is at least like a C topic on all the shows? You know, your Mike and the Mad Dog. Your
I don't like that Logan's hanging out with Wade. I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'll just hang up and listen.
Yeah. I think there's too much horse shit to wade through to talk about that on Monday. I do think it will be talked about possibly on Tuesday.
Okay.
I think everyone on Monday will be too busy talking about the biggest missed opportunity at the Super Bowl commercial-wise, which is that there was no Richard Stanichard presence.
Ricky Stenicki.
Excuse me, sorry. I don't know him that well. I'm speaking a little formally. It's Richard Stanichard to me. But yeah, Ricky Stenicki, there was no awareness of that movie, which I think needed Super Bowl level awareness.
I know. If it had been, listen, it seems like it's an Amazon Prime only release. If it had been in theaters like it should be, we could have seen a Ricky Stenicki trailer, or some kind of like tie-in, like Ricky Stenicki and Starburst together. All the guys.
Now the only way you can see it is like you have to order ground beef on Amazon Fresh, and then Ricky Stenicki comes with it. They give you like a little DVD and a sleeve of Ricky Stenicki, which is like, I'm really getting sick of Prime's release strategy with these.
They should actually just hide DVDs and meat randomly, and you just randomly get a DVD in there. I think that would be fun, because then I would order meat from Amazon Fresh.
Yeah. That's why Doug Liman's not going to South by Southwest, because that's what they're doing with Roadhouse.
They're burying it in meat.
It's all in venison for that.
Yeah. Now, can we just quickly touch on some of the teasers for movies that we've already seen trailers for? So there was a Fall Guy. There was a Fall Guy teaser that I think looked terrible.
Which Bon Jovi song did they use this time?
They used a Taylor Swift song in it, my friend.
Playing to the crowd, I see.
Talk about Argyle syndrome. This movie is going to be LOL, ha ha ha, funny, and it looks terrible.
Universal's so hot on it. It's so strange
It's
that
so hot on
the
it. They
comedy-
moved
the
to
trailers
first
have all
week in
been
May.
bad. I agree.
I love. I think I like Emily Blunt. I think Ryan Reynolds can be very funny and charming when he wants
Ryan
to be.
Gosling.
Oh, there we go. Ryan Gosling.
Mhm.
Ryan Gosling can be really funny and charming when he wants to be. Obviously, Ken, and many other things he's done. This seems like too much. So we had that one, and then we had the Apes trailer, which I'm
Oh.
sorry, guys. These Apes movies are putting me to sleep. I wanted to just close my eyes and take a nap during this shit. What the is anybody interested in this?
I was a big fan of the James Franco one that rebooted it. I
Yeah,
loved
you love
the
James
one,
Franco.
yeah, big fan.
Still to this day.
Yeah, have never acknowledged any wrongdoing there.
Yeah.
I just no, I'm just kidding. But the second
Well, you're
one
a
I
big
liked.
season 2 of The Deuce guy. That's your big thing.
Yeah, that's right. I remember liking the second one when I saw it in theaters, but I never saw it again. The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I guess. And then
Yep.
the third one
Terrible.
that everyone said was good, I thought was really bad. Like
Yes.
shockingly bad. Like
Mhm.
self-serious and focused on all the wrong things I don't care about. And I think it was called War for the Planet of the Apes, but like it didn't really have the war. It was like after the war.
Yeah.
It was
just
mostly
really-
like them hanging out in
was
like wooden
prison.
jail cells.
Yeah, it was like a prison
Yeah.
escape movie, which is
Yeah.
a fun idea on paper, but it didn't work. I on just, by nature of being excited for big blockbusters that aren't superhero movies, I was already just down for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But yeah, it looks like a lesser than the other ones still somehow. I don't know why, but it does.
It looks a little bit not an asylum movie, obviously, but it does look like it is a huge step down from that last trilogy. Even though I think it's a narrative continuation. I mean, this movie has no stars at all. Like absolutely nobody that you would barely even know of. I'm looking at the cast list: Freya Allen, Owen Teague, Dickon Lockman, Kevin Durand,
Dickon
not Kevin
Lockman's in it?
Durand, Dickon Lockman, and Sarah Wiseman. Those are the listed cast for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, the trailer, the teaser, the commercial was not able to show any actors that anyone would recognize. I mean, it's fully selling it on the apes, and it's fully selling it on
Apes Together Strong.
Apes Together Strong, hashtag Apes Together Strong. And it's a continuation of this sort of not fun at all version of this series.
Yeah. No
kind
guys in
works.
suits or anything. No.
No guys in suits. The society still is not human enough where it's like interesting in a sci-fi way. There's still apes who are mostly in the animal kingdom. They're not apes who are like in skyscrapers driving cars or
they're not Wall
using-
Street. They're not hedge fund managers, which is what I want to see.
I wanna see
fast
the
forward to them being hedge fund managers.
Maurice sequel. We're just focused on the big red one. I like him.
Yes, yeah. Let's like go out on at least then do it as like a buddy comedy or something. Like this movie, just in all the advertisements, the trailer tonight feels like a totally self-serious.
Yeah.
I do feel like this is going to bomb.
Yeah.
I think this is a franchise that they just greenlit because it is IP, and those movies did do well 10 years ago. But nothing in this advertisement is promising any kind of new twist, +1 bonus thing. There's no stars in it. It is just the apes are still figuring it out. And I don't think that's going to be enough of a hook.
There's one thing. They could still be hiding that it's a musical.
That
would be something.
Yeah.
Have we seen a music note in the logo anywhere?
I'm gonna have to pour over it with a magnifying glass. I haven't taken a look at it yet. I'll take a look.
Yeah, maybe Tina Fey's husband wrote the songs for this, and there you go. I do think that's going to bomb. These advertisements just don't have any hook. I saw a teaser trailer for the new Minions movie, or I guess the new Despicable Me movie is coming out this summer.
Yes.
And I mean, that's gonna be gigantic. They did what they had to do, which is to just get the little yellow guys, get the minions out
DM4.
there.
Yeah,
It's
DM4.
DM4. It's wow.
DM4, but minions. There are 2 others, and
There's
then
there's been 2 minions
it's
and
kind of
4. This
crazy.
is
There's
the 4th
only 2
DM.
minions, but they really spaced out the minions movies. I feel like,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
but they feel like the most like omnipresent thing on Earth. They're just everywhere at all times.
Yeah. I mean, if you basically look at all of them as a franchise, the Minions movies and now DM4, this is the 6th one.
Yeah.
So in that way, they are the most reliable franchise.
And
we've
in
had a
LA,
decade.
isn't there like a big permanent billboard in LA now that's just like overlooking Hollywood? That it's just kind of like this is Minions Town now.
Wow.
It's really wild.
It fits. I mean, this movie's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
I didn't really get the joke of the commercial I saw tonight during the big game. It was some kind of like the minions are what's behind AI, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So
That's fun.
it's them being
Topical.
current. They must have done it, just put it together in the last month. I'm sure the move. Listen, I've never interacted with Minions content before. Never saw a Despicable Me movie before, but I did see Minions 2 in theaters in, what was that, July of 2021.
Did you get
with
swept up in the
Denny's.
Gentle Minions craze?
I did, and I loved it, and I get it now. They are hilarious. And I
Pat
think
was
this
wearing a
movie's
zoot
pretty
suit.
huge. Yeah.
Pat was wearing a big yellow zoot suit.
Mm-hmm.
Zoot Suit Boogie.
And all the teens were like, he's one of us. He's one of us. He gets it. He gets us.
Yeah, I'm sure you
any
fit
other
right in.
I did. They loved me, and we all love the Minions. This movie's gonna be huge. The commercials tonight did what it had to do. I didn't notice anything else really. You said the Fall Guy. That was about it. Listen, even just getting the commercial, I think, for the Fall Guy is a show of strength. It's a show that they think this is gonna listen. They're gonna put the money into promoting it, and obviously they're gonna do that with Planet of the Apes, but I don't think that's gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to put the money into promoting the Fall Guy. I'm sure Ryan Gosling will be out there reminding everyone that we all still love him. So we'll see. But yeah, you're right. These trailers for Fall Guy, nothing has been great yet.
I mean, I think coming off the game, I mean, I think the 2 words that are going to be on everybody's tongue, of course, number 1, rigged. Number 2 is going to be Twisters.
Yeah. Yeah. Did anyone see the commercial for Dunkin' Donuts with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck? I think they are big winners coming out tonight. I kind of feel like that's just
star-studded. That's what I meant by celebrities are funny again.
Yeah. Well, listen, there was celebrities in every commercial. Almost every commercial tonight was terrible.
Yeah.
But I do think people love this Dunkin' Donuts commercial. So I think Affleck and Damon come out of the big game tonight as big winners. I think they may be the only celebrities who actually put something together that people enjoyed.
And the fall of Schwarzenegger is very depressing.
Oh,
yeah.
Oof.
I mean,
yeah.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson, look and see your future. It is Arnold Schwarzenegger doing Allstate
State
commercials.
Farm, or
State
whatever.
Farm, yeah.
Yeah. You were gonna, Rock. Your co-star is not gonna be Kevin Hart. It's gonna be the dude from Allstate.
Yeah. Well, in the long big game version of that commercial, they do reteam Schwarzenegger with Danny DeVito.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
so
it's just all pop culture backwash is what these these Super Bowl commercials are. It's just the waste of our culture.
But at least there's 3 weeks of reporting about them before they happen too.
Absolutely.
It's my favorite part, probably.
It's always a strange experience a week later after the big game and you're watching television and then the Super Bowl commercials are just the commercials.
Yeah.
What once was special and hyped up and you would get leaks about is just then the commercial that plays, in between reruns of the Big Bang Theory. It's just like the Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Dunkin' Donuts commercial is now just going to be playing 20 times a day for the next year.
Oh yeah, it's like when we saw those Jerry Seinfeld Superman commercials so much.
Right.
Over the years, and that was special at one time and no longer is.
Right. Yeah, but I think Damon and Affleck come out of this as winners. And I know Air only made us 50 million. It didn't set the world on fire, but get those two guys in a big screen comedy. People do love them together.
Yes.
Um, so Brett, tell us, what are you going to be covering on the New Flesh podcast coming up? What can people expect? Are you going to be doing post big game coverage? Is there another in-depth look at Lisa Frankenstein? What's coming up?
We just covered Lisa Frankenstein. That's out today. Next week we've got Madam Web on the docket.
Wow.
And there's a shark movie called No Way Up that I will have to watch and assess whether we're covering it or not, but that's on there as well. Yeah, pretty light horror schedule early in the year, but we're finding our way through. We'll definitely Madam Web is adjacent enough. It's a genre thing. It's a pop culture Morbius level event. You got to cover that. We'll probably cover Dune 2. Then we'll cover Love Lies Bleeding. Then we'll cover the Jeff Wadlow Imaginary. So there's a lot on the horizon actually coming up next month.
I am so excited for Love Lies Bleeding.
Yes, I am seeing that soon, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh, it looks awesome.
Yes, I loved Rose Glass's debut, Saint Maud. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
Oh, the Saint Maud director is back. Okay.
Yes, with a movie starring Kristen Stewart as a bodybuilding lesbian.
Oh, I have seen that trailer. That does look great. That looks like the better version of Drive Away Dolls.
Yes. And Ed Harris in it, looking very creepy.
Love that.
Yeah.
One of the best presences, scariest presences. History of Violence, another random recommendation. Now that you said Ed Harris.
At this point, no matter what the movie is, does Ed Harris make a movie horror lifestyle enough that you could cover it on the New Flesh? Yeah.
That's a rule that we have. It's in the bylaws.
So guys, anything else that we haven't said about the big game, Lisa Frankenstein? I think we covered it all. So email us. We got a lot of emails. We'll get to that, Clayton, on our next episode. So we got some amazing emails, but we've run long tonight. I mean, maybe Clayton, you and I should just do a quick a mailbag episode soon, because we have some incredible emails to get to.
We obviously I just want to tease this because we had our greatest email ever that we read a couple weeks ago, and it was a very short, succinct email, and it was at the time the greatest email we ever received. I think that the email me and you are both thinking of, Pat,
that we just read yesterday.
Out loud to me yesterday.
Yeah, at BOHQ.
That is the new greatest email we've ever received.
Yes.
So that is coming soon.
Yeah, we will read these emails. So send us your emails at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We're going to do a big episode going through these emails soon. theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us at theboboyspod on Twitter X and on TikTok. Wanna BO senior intern Christopher, killing it there. And of course, Wanna BO junior intern Jack. He's brought back the Substack. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the BO Boys.
The Substack's been brought back?
The Substack has been brought back.
The stack is back.
Thanks to Jack.
Wow.
So you got to read there. You got to subscribe there. And you know what? Me and Clayton, I think it's time for us to pick up the old feather and ink and start writing again, because we might be writing stuff on the Substack very soon. So we'll get to that. But for right now, it's just booming with Jack's articles. So thank you, Jack, for that. Thank you, Christopher, for your work with the clips. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Give 5 stars, of course, to the New Flesh podcast and to Roger and me. I mean, I listen to that every week, and I am just always amazed at how many movies there actually are, Brad.
It's
and
stunning.
You watch them all.
Well, Mark, to be fair, I watch many. Mark watches them all, my co-host, and he reviews them all in print on markreviewsmovies.com. This week, I thought I exhausted every option at nine movies, and Mark's website had 14, I believe. So
God's work.
It's thorough, and it's also like, what are these fucking 5 movies that no one's ever heard of that came out, and they have actors in them? It's a strange. The podcast has been very enlightening. If people don't know, Siskel and Ebert clone. We just watch every movie every week that comes out and talk about it, and it's very taxing because tons of movies come out that you didn't think come out. It's crazy.
I mean,
'Cause they
listen,
don't make the box office chart. So why the fuck would you talk about them?
Yeah.
we all worship Siskel and Ebert, greatest of all time,
Mhm.
but they didn't review 14 movies a week. I used to
No,
watch
it's a
that
diff-
show,
yeah, exactly.
and they were reviewing 4 movies. So you guys
Yes.
are doing triple the work of Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a passion project. It's a lot of fun. Hope to keep doing it.
So Roger and me, of
Yes.
course, give that 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And guys, I think we did it.
Yeah.
Nothing else to say.
No, there can't be.
No.
Except for until next time.
Well,
Smell.